hosted by Mike, the Big Cheese.
Always welcome back to the Heavy Metal Man Radio Show. It is Sunday, June 8th. It's good to be back. We were off the air last Sunday. It was my great niece's baptism, so the whole family was out there celebrating in New Jersey with my nephew. You know you're getting old when you have great nieces and nephews and you're the papa to a couple of grandkids. So, but I still feel young at heart, but it's good to be back with everybody. Right there, Evil with Evil. Does it get any more evil than that? I love Evil. Such a big fan of that band, and Freddie Wolf has been on the show quite a few times over the years. The band broke up early on. They were only around for about 2 years, maybe 3 years in the early 80s before breaking up and getting back together again in 2007, where they gave us the Shoot the Messenger record, breaking up again, getting back together in 2017 with Book of Evil. That was a good album. They re recorded this song. It wasn't bad, but I'm not a fan of re recording a lot of old songs. There's a certain time and place when this music comes out, and when you try to recreate it 30, 40 years later, sometimes it just doesn't work out. But that's life, right? Hey, we got a great show for everybody tonight. Vick LeCar from Vikron is with us tonight live. We have Brian Sheerin from Stretcher in the second half of the show, so don't forget to stick around for all of that. We got a couple of requests tonight we have to get to. Let me see. Maybe no, we'll save that for a little later. How about right now we do a little TT quick, hard as rock.
There was some shit coming for a long time.
All right, we kicked off that set with TT Quick and Hard as Rock off their second record. Mark has been singing with Except for over a decade now, maybe even longer than that. But TT Quick do get back together every now and then to do benefit shows or just one-offs here and there. It's not that often, but I was lucky enough to catch the next to the last one that they did, and they sounded great still. They really do. Right then after that, Matriarch with Red Dawn. The band had one demo out in 1986. They were really good. They had that song actually appeared on the Lemoore's Rocks record. That's the only thing that ever came out of that band. I've tried to get in touch with one or two of the guys from the band over the years, but I had no luck. And we closed it out with Black Sabbath and The Shining. That was with Ray Gillen on vocals. They had recorded that record with Ray. I guess things didn't work out, and then Tony Martin stepped in and did the album version of it. What's funny is that I love all of those Black Sabbath records that came out from Born Again on until '89, which was the Headless Cross. And Tony Martin had a few records with them in the '90s also before they kind of called it a day. And kind of got back with Dio again, I think, after that for a little while. They were such great records, each one in their right. I loved. I mean, I know it sounds crazy. Like, I kind of grew up with the Black Sabbath with Ozzy because even though I was a lot younger then and I was a kid, my cousins who lived downstairs we played all the time. So I would hear Ozzy sing with the Black Sabbath. So I was kind of a little familiar with who they were, listening through my window, my bedroom window, to my cousins playing the music. But it wasn't until the Dio era that I really became a Sabbath fan when I was old enough to like go out and buy records on my own and kind of discover this new up and coming scene from the late '70s, early '80s. And I think those Dio records are phenomenal. But Born Again is probably my favorite Black Sabbath record. When I heard about Ian Gillan joining the band, I shook my head. I'm like, how the hell is this going to work out? I mean, I just don't get it. Then the record came out, and even though they always complain about the production, it was an average produced record for the '80s. That was the sound quality you got back then. You didn't get much better than that. I have to be honest with you. But Tony keeps talking about remastering the record. I think he's going to get on that kind of soon. But I love that record and everything they did after that. Even though Tony keeps saying I was trying to make those records in the '80s after Born Again, like Tony Iommi solo records. The label wanted me to use the name Black Sabbath because it had recognition. Now, if you're Tony Iommi, you don't have enough recognition on your own that the label says you got to put Black Sabbath before it. That doesn't make any sense to me. I know they did the same thing when Richie Blackmore wanted to come back and do a Rainbow record. It was really supposed to be a solo record. They wanted him to put the Rainbow name on it, and they did that record with Doogie White, and it was a good record. It didn't really sound like Rainbow because it was supposed to be Richie Blackmore's solo record, but it is, and you would think like these two guys would have enough power in the industry to say, no, no, this is my solo record, and that's what it's going to be. And I'm sure there would have been a million labels that would have signed it because these albums came out in the days when record labels were kind of king, and everybody counted on them, and everybody used them. I don't see them having to use the Black Sabbath name or kowtow to the record company, but that's what kind of happened back then. All right, we're gonna, you know what? Let me see. I got to call Vick in about 5 minutes or so. So I'm gonna play a song by a band Platinum that he was in for a little while, and then we'll play some of his solo stuff and some Vikron after the interview. But there's a band called Midnight Vice, or a new young band. The singer Tyler Gray screwed me twice this week for an interview. He didn't show up the first time to do the interview. I reached out to his press rep, and like always, they make an excuse for the artist, saying that it was their fault, which it isn't because that's just a normal rap. They rescheduled it for a few days later, and he screwed me again. So Midnight Vice is officially banned from the show. They even beyond the book. They don't even make the book. They will never be heard of or played or talked about again after this. So that's the end of that. That's the end of Midnight Vice for this show. You'll never hear them about again. All right, so let's get some Platinum off everybody. Here's a song called Iceman, and then we'll give Vic a call. All right, a band Vic played with back in the day, Platinum. I believe we had them on the show not long ago when Heaven and Hell re-released that album. So let's get Vic on the line and talk to him right now. It's taken me a little while to still figure out how to use this new phone system that we have because Skype went out of business officially a couple of weeks ago. So let's give it a shot again. I think we'll be all right.
This is Vick LeCar. Please leave a message right after the beep. I will return your call as soon as I can. Thank you.
All right, we got a answering machine. Let's give Vic one more try. There we go. All right, here, what are we gonna do here? Outgoing call. Let's call that one. Boom, boom. You gotta put the phone number in again. All right, here we go. Vic, this is Mike. You're live on the air. How are you?
Well, how are you? I was just waiting for your call, but somehow went straight to my voicemail. How are
That's
things
okay.
in
I
New
got
York?
you now. That's all that matters. They're not the same since
Yeah,
you left the area, but what are we gonna do? We'll have to survive, right?
yeah, yeah. I kind of miss that area anyway. Can you hear
Well,
me all
listen,
right?
yeah, I can hear you just fine. I would rather be where you are than here. Let's put it that way. You got better weather than we do.
We have hot weather, that's for sure. you
Yeah,
know.
I'll take that any day of the week. But listen, it's a pleasure to
Uh,
have you on the show tonight, and such a fan of Vikron from going back to. Is it Vikron or Vikron? It's probably Vikron for Viking, right?
Vikron, yes, yes.
Yeah.
It was not a play on my name at all. It was a
Everybody
name, a
thought it
made up
was,
name.
right?
Yep,
It just
everybody
worked
thought it
out that
was.
way.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but, but
Well,
that's great.
imagination.
Yeah.
It
No, that's
actually
what
was
people
pretty
people
cool
think.
because it was pretty cool because I created this character, and I did a painting of it years ago, like at the time, and it's this Viking-looking dude with a sword and wings, and it was avenging for justice and all that good stuff. It was pretty cool. The idea was, from a young mind, and I did a painting, and I gave it to someone at the studio in Jersey, someplace. I think it was Star Studios. I got a habit of giving things away.
Well,
But
don't give any of those singles away because I have to tell you, they go for a small fortune today. I'm holding on to mine to buy a summer home. I figure a couple of more years.
yeah, actually, I have a couple of them, and I've been offered stupid amounts of money, and I thought about it a couple of times, because new guitars are always needed.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. But you know what's fun? But you know what's funny is
go
that
ahead.
you've never left you've never left music. You've been in it since those days of the Vicron days, and you've kept putting out new music and kept recording stuff. But there's something about that band. I mean, that just holds this heart in people's spot. I mean, a couple of years it was all that was for Vicron, but it just people just don't forget. People remember this band.
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool, and it was such a it was birthed out of innocence. Michael was a very, I would actually say naive because we were like wild guys, we're young and crazy, and every one of those guys that was such a great building blocks to what we are today, and I remember building the name of the band was I had a 280Z, the little Nissan cars, sporty car,
Yeah,
and I was sitting there with this other guy that he wanted to play guitar as well, and he wanted to sing, and then I go like, I need to create a name for this. Then that's how the name came up with between this guy named Enzo, and he completely disappeared from my life, like he would never showed up. And he was a bit older guy at the time, and so he had different obligations and responsibilities that I mean we all did. I got married very young, my first time, but still, music was always it's still my number thing, my number one thing. It's like uh, I didn't switch to, and I didn't change to anything because of obstacles and things that responsibility. I did my job doing what I had to do as a responsible person, and I created my music at the same time. But anyway, back to the Vicon guys. It was so funny because we auditioned people. The first drummer in the in the 45. His name's George Rodriguez, and he literally helped build the band from originally from the get go, you know. But then we auditioned people. Joey Danduno came on board. At the time, we was best bass player we could find, and he's still a great bass player. You know, he was really very musical. I'm getting an echo on my headphones, kind of a little bit. I can hear myself talking back and forth.
Okay.
Um, but anyway, so then Joey came on board, and then we auditioned singers, and we auditioned a few singers actually in the East Coast, and then this guy comes in nervous as a hooker in front of God. You know, he looked like a David Lee Roth, and he's like very nervy, very talking with his hands practically. And I'm like, what the hell is this so nervous about? It's just, and it happened that the guy at the entrance of the studio told him, man, you better be good because these guys are good. And so he, he got him all worried, man. He was that, and his name was Brian G. Resco, man, and we're still in touch nowadays. And I think he was a great addition. He was just like the right guy for the right gig, you know. Vikron was a
Yeah.
very raw band, you know. We were very. That was the beginning of the band thing for us, you know. I mean, I
I,
started playing very young.
yeah.
Hmm.
Absolutely. You know, it's always important to try to find band members that are going to meld together and work well with each other and also have the same vision because, you know, if one guy wants to do a certain style, another guy wants to do a different style and not like on the same page where, hey, this is what we should be and what we should do and we're going to carry this on, you know, through eternity if we can. I think that's impossible. But like in your case where you're the main songwriter and you kind of have the musical vision of where you want the band to go, you have to bring in a singer. You have to bring in a singer because he's going to be the voice of the band. No matter what you do on guitar or bass or drums, people are going to recognize the vocals and say, that's Vikron. I recognize the singer. So when he came in, did you say to yourself, this is definitely the guy for the band who's going to take us to the next level?
Absolutely, Brian was like he was cool and he was a nice person. I like to work with nice people, and that was one of the things that earned he earned that gig. He didn't get the gig because he was there or he was lucky or we knew each other or anything. He just walked in, and even though, as I said, he was practically shaking the microphone. He did a great job. He knew the songs. He knew he was able to improvise. He was very musical. He plays saxophone. He plays guitar. So he's a musician. Actually, he teaches music. So he was definitely. As soon as I heard him, I go like, you know, that voice will fit in my musical vision at the time. And the guys were crazy, like, yeah, oh yeah, definitely, man. And he definitely, you know, this is the '80s, so he definitely looked the part, you know, and he was very
Yeah.
athletic on stage. It was super, it was super cool, you know. And then we lost the drummer to. We had a deal with some people in Brazil, in the capital of Brazil, which is Brasilia, and they
Yeah.
had rented a house for the band and rented a bus for us to go touring. But there was some issue with the drummer we had, unfortunately, because I really would have loved to have. And then Brian comes up to me. He goes, you know, I know a drummer named Michael Randleman, and he's a real nice guy and this and the other thing. And then Michael came in and he took over the drum department, and he did great as well. Very nice man, very great, very thankful guy. He was definitely a good addition to the band. You know, the so everything came together, and that was Vikron. You know, that was actually we have a recording that has never seen the daylight. You know, and maybe
Oh,
once I get done, yeah. There's a few things that I have to finish up over here. As you said, I try to keep real busy with my music, so I have a lot of things uh, coming up now. And go ahead.
well, Well, that's good. I mean, I'm glad you're keeping busy with the music. Vic, when you think about it, when music started, when at least heavy metal or hard rock started out in the late 60s, early 70s, bands like Zeppelin, Sabbath, then, Deep Purple came along and other bands came out like AC/DC and Kiss. Their whole goal was to make music that was a little harder and heavier than what was done before them or different, but yet they wanted to get radio play. They had to get on the radio. That was the only way to make it back then. You didn't start a band so you could play in a bar the rest of your life. You started a band to get on the radio, get airplay, and get bigger and bigger and go to the stadiums. Then the 80s came around, the early 80s, and music got harder and heavier. Bands like Slayer, Metallica, Exodus. They didn't care about getting on the radio, getting airplay. Nobody thought they were going to make it. They were just trying to create a scene. But then as the 80s wore on and these bands actually started making it and started getting on radios and started getting signed to major labels, the scene just exploded. Then Motley Crue came around and all those other bands came out. So was your goal to get airplay, to get on the radio, to take the band to the next level, be a Bon Jovi, be a Motley Crue, be a Rat or a band like that could, garner the airplay, but yet still appeal to like an underground type of, fan?
Well, that's a very interesting question, and I will try to answer it to the best of my judgment. I do music and I play music because of the art. I, Even when I was a kid, I never thought that you can make money playing music. So music has never, I mean, money has never been driven me. Money has never driven me to do anything, to be honest with you. Not music. Music is just like, it's within. It's like, it's hard for me to explain it. It just keeps coming up. I mean, if money was the situation and fame, I think I would have done something else. Because to do anything in the music, as they call it, industry, you need a big money. A lot of these guys, they don't want to get. Yeah, everybody wants to get signed. We wanted to get signed, of course, but I realized at an early stage that if you don't do this for what the main reason is to create music, is to to build something. You just do it for all the wrong reasons. I mean, actually, I don't know if you're aware of this, but a lot of these guys that made it real big, they're back on day jobs. I mean, they're like in the 50s,
Yeah.
60s, and 70s, some of them, and they're working day jobs. It's only the band leaders, the ones who wrote the songs, are the ones that are still doing it, or some of them still doing it, but at higher guns. Everybody's being hired because of the level of popularity, And also that actually leads me to something. I played with other bands in that area after Vikron. I played with a band called Foxy. They were fairly popular in the tri-state. I played with a band called Platinum as well. I did their album. But then after that,
Iceman.
the Iceman, exactly. And it was right after that, I just like, I'm kind of tired. Like I write my own stuff. I don't need to join anybody else, So I kept on doing my things, and that I did a band called LeCar. I did a whole bunch of stuff that I still have recordings that I never released, But then I don't know if you know, but I got together with Joel Turner and I started writing with him. I started working with him, and that changed the whole perspective and the whole thing of music, And he used to bust my chops about like, you have to play that fast. It's like you're playing like square. You're playing so square. You have to play more rounder, man. You got to play like bluesier. And I go, I think you're right because my influence was Zeppelin. They were very bluesy bands, And then so I kind of like went back to my roots, completely to my roots. To that heavier. I want it heavier. I want to always keep it heavier. Even my new stuff it's heavy, but still bluesier. And melodies are the most important thing in a song, of course. If you don't have melody, you don't have a song.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, when we got to the 90s, bands just forgot to write catchy songs, in my opinion. It kind of ended for a lot of bands. They just didn't know how to write a catchy song that you were going to remember.
hmm Well, like what I do with that kind of stuff is that if I write a song today and I can't remember it today, tomorrow, or the next day, or next week, I don't even bother finishing it up, Because even though I don't consider myself I was blamed by one of the bands. I was in a band called Blessed Fury, and the bass player came up to me. He goes, "You write too commercial." I go, "Like I write naturally like that. I don't do it on purpose, man. It's just like that's how it comes up, how can I write non-commercials? If I write non-commercial, I don't remember. It's like songs are written to be memorized, for people to sing in the car, to come to your mind. A song marks a time and place for everyone. It's like a background of certain part of our lives, you know. And I think that's what I like to do more than anything else. Like, you know, somebody listens to your song and goes, "Oh man, I was like, it was like freaking 1987, and I met Jane and this and the whole thing at this bar, this club, and the city, the cat club, whatever." You know what I mean? It's like a time and place that song was going to mark on somebody's life, you know. And that's it's not. I don't know if it's easy or not to me. Memory melodies come. They just come to me. I can't tell you that I sit there creating them. No, they just come to me.
Yeah.
You know.
Sure. You know, with Vikron, you had the one single out with King of the City and Long Tall Woman in a Black Dress. And, you know, I remember getting it. It was on being an Italian guy from Brooklyn. It was on Broccoli Rob Records. So, which more Italian of a record label than Broccoli Rob? So, I remember getting that single in the store and it blew me away. You know, and you had a lot more songs than that, just that one that you put on there. What made you decide to put a cover as a second song instead of another original? Was it try to draw people into a song that they might be familiar with?
Yeah, actually, that's exactly what it was. Like I was told by we were told by someone at the I believe it was a recording studio. It's like, oh, you guys got to do a cover because there's one cover. It's gonna, you know, it was the thing for bands to do. A lot of the bigger bands that were doing covers like from Quiet Riot and Motley Crue, they all did this one cover, Van Halen, this one cover that took them to the top because people were familiar with the song. So basically, that's what it was. That was the main reason why we did that. I mean, the amount of songs that Vikram has, they're still there. I still have more. You know, I had hired someone to get rid of somebody. Somebody had stolen a cassette from the studio and had a YouTube channel with all the Vikram songs on rehearsal. I'm like, what the hell is that? I don't even have this stuff. You know what I mean? But so yeah, I had to get somebody to take them down because their songs, they're my songs. Actually I should have just kept them there, like keep them playing until because they will come up at one point or another if they do well. You know, they'll come up. I own my own publishing company, which is the Rock Music on BMI, and everything that I have it goes in there. So the more the merrier. So I should have just yeah. There is a lot of songs that actually. Everybody's in touch with it. We're all in touch. Like with Brian, the singer, I'm in touch with all the time. Michael Randleman, we're in touch all the time. The bass player, he's not very social. He moved out of state, but he keeps saying like, yeah, send me the tracks. I'll record them here and there. He still plays bass, and his daughter, I believe, plays cello, called stand-up bass, something like that. It's pretty cool, you know.
Yeah. When when you did the single, you kind of did it all on your own, and that wasn't a common thing back then. You know, most people, you know, record music and look for the labels to come and pick it up and release it. But you guys did everything on your own back then.
Yep. That was an early sign of what's today. I mean, amazing enough, it just turned out to be just like that nowadays. Everybody's like record companies are becoming absolute unless they have big money. You know what I mean? If they have
True.
big money, they're gonna put it in their lap and go like, you know, go do this. And I'm talking about big money, not just a few grand. You know, because I
Yeah.
have offers like that. Oh, release this under my label, and I give you, you know, 25 grand and this and the other thing. I'm like, dude, you know, I can go wait tables and make 25 grand when, and get, you know what I mean? It's like that it's like I'm a do it myself kind of guy, and it's like look, if you're not going to open the door, I go and build my own house and I open my own door. That's basically what it boils down to. And I have always been like that, you know. But Vikron did have interest from people. I don't even remember what. Actually, that Brazilian thing was very interesting. Um, yeah, so and that was Vicron. Vicron was great, but Vicron was a like the base of what I do now, what we all do now. You know, um, I can
Yeah.
picture myself doing anything else but music. So I don't know.
And you have done that, and that's what you have given us. And going back to Vikron, it was what, maybe a 3 year run, maybe 4 years, and that the band was together, and the single comes out. Did it do what you wanted it to do? Did it get you the attention that you needed? Because it seems like the band broke up maybe a year or so later.
Yeah, I think it was a little later than that, but it was we did get a lot of attention. Actually, it was really funny. WDHA out of New Jersey, right? They got a
Yeah.
we had an interview, and we all drove there and all this stuff. And Brian, of course, he was always so ahead of everybody. He was like, he got to a parking lot before I did, and he calls me up. He goes, Vic, you're not gonna believe this crap. I go like, there are kids here all over the parking lot with the jackets with the name of Vikron on the back of their jackets and stuff like that. I cannot believe it. I'm like, oh man, this is freaking great. We didn't even do any merchandise, and people making their own merchandise from that. That's got to be something, I mean, that felt great, actually, to be honest with you. So, you know, did it get where I was to a point where like, hey man, like I, we were able to pay everybody off, and everybody was nice. It did not get to that, but as I said before, like money's not the driver over here. Music is, but musically, yes. I mean, everything could be better. Like even now, like I listen to my stuff and I go like, man, I could have done this better. With all the other stuff that I did afterwards, up to today, I could have done. I guess it's just the artist, creative part of my mind that wants to be better than that, even at this station age. So in a way it did, and in another way it didn't. It was like. But like
Yeah.
for example,
Well,
this interview is great because it's bringing me right back to where we started, and this itself is an accomplishment. So I
it
thank
was
you for
what you
that.
did back then. It was a big deal. I mean, I didn't forget you guys. And then our friend Alex, he wrote a book called Heroes of the Metal Underground, and he put you in his book. And I was like, wow, it's great to see like these guys getting some attention again, because people forget over the years as time goes by. And it was that little nick of time, like you said, that you guys created this great sound and this incredible music, and it should have went further than that. But sometimes it just doesn't. So when it does come to an end for the band, I mean, it was '89, I want to say, maybe the band broke up. And how does it come to an end? Do you just say, hey, we're not getting anywhere with this, so let's just like leave it alone, or do the guys just go in different directions? How did it end for Vikron?
Well, it was a Brian and I we became very close, right? And we still close friends. Um, it was a misunderstanding actually. I was in my one of my moods. I was like, not, I can't tell you in a dark place, but I was like in a doubt place, and I was that. What's going
Yeah.
to happen with this? What am I going to do? The drummer, then the bass player, and then we're having issues with. I don't remember exactly what the issues are. And I said to Brian, we were over the phone, but like, man, I don't know what the hell's going on. But what do you think? So he goes like, look, Vic. He goes, if I'm holding the band back, I can leave. So I'm like, stupid me, I just hung up the phone. And that was the end of it. And we didn't speak for years. And that was how Vikron ended up. A misunderstanding and a non-speaking issue with myself. Sometimes I just keep quiet. People say things and I keep quiet. And
Yeah. Oh my
I
God.
learned I learned the hard way not to. And that was one of those whole. To be honest with you, I wish we would have kept it up. I wish Vikron would have still kicking. I think it would have definitely would have gone to a different stage and another place.
Absolutely, man. If you weren't home that day to answer the phone, who knows what would have happened?
Yeah, well, we would have still had Vikron, right? Probably.
That's right.
But
Well, you know what? You can't
yeah,
you can't go back and change the past. What is what is. But you did move on, and when you moved on, I think Platinum was the next band that you kind of hooked up with out in New Jersey.
actually, it was Foxy out of New Jersey. Yeah, and they looked me up. They spoke to me for a while. They had two guitar players, and they this is a funny one. So I walked into the rehearsal room. There's one guitar player, which is the rhythm guitar player, and then as soon as I walked into the room, the guy goes, "You got the gig." They were very image oriented. And then
Yeah.
I never learned any of their songs. What I did, I listened. I remember at the time I had '79 Trans Am Bandit Edition, and I put a cassette into the car with their music, and I listened to the music on the way to a rehearsal, and I'm like just trying to figure it out in my head what the chords were, and that was my audition for it, And
Wow.
obviously I did well. Yeah, they picked me up on the spot, and then I was with them for a couple of years. Then and then after that it was platinum, you know. And that
Yeah.
was like I can't tell you that was a nice experience. I mean, everything is got good and bad. Like I always have a good sense of humor. I'm laughing about the weirdest things in the world, you know. And people are like,
Yeah.
"Why are you laughing about? You got to find humor and everything, you know." But
Uh,
it was cool. It was a great experience, you know. Um, but,
Was that the last like official band you were in before you said, "Hey, I'm just gonna go solo and do my own thing"?
platinum, I think it was. It was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Platinum. Was that the last
That,
band, like a band that you were in before you just decided I'm gonna just do my own thing, and that way you don't have to
yes.
deal with other band members?
Well, it wasn't even like about dealing with it. It's like when you're creating something, and if you want it to be good, it's got to be in your head. You can't have other people telling you what to play and how to play it and all that stuff. And that happens periodically with other bands. You know, I remember I was recording in Canada with them, and I have the three guys from the band standing in front of me. I'm sitting down playing guitar, which I very rarely do. But we're in the studio. I don't sit down to play. I always stand up, and they're just like this, like that. And then you have the rhythm guitar player, the singer, and the drummer like on in front of me. Like dude, it's just so hard to work like that. You know what I mean? It's like while I did the guitar work for Fox, it was really funny because they took me to the studio. The producer is there, and she starts telling me how to play the solo. So I like this. So I go, you know something? Let me take one solo the way I feel it, the way I see it, and then if you don't like it, I'll do whatever you want. But I did the solo, and he goes like, "All right, keep on playing, keep doing whatever comes you want." That's exactly what he said to me.
Yeah.
You know, so it came out a lot better. It was a lot great. It was free. You know, and rock and roll is it's free music. It's free. You know, you got to be free spirit. You can't create under pressure. Not that kind of pressure. You know, you have the pressure from everybody else and everything else. But you can't. Pressure is not a good thing to be creative. However, if I have a deadline that I need to create something on record, I'm really good with that. It's a controversy, but it's not really if you analyze it, you know. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was the
Well,
last band. That was the last band. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Well, like when you're in a band, I mean, even if you're the main songwriter and the main guy that comes up with all the riffs and the music, some guys like having other band members there to bounce the ideas off of because they'll say, well, maybe we should change this or tinker with that. But when you're a songwriter who really knows what he's doing, do you really need other people to comment on like what you should add to it or change to it, or do you need their input? Because obviously you don't, because you've been writing on your own, since you left Platinum, and everything seems to be working out fine musically for you.
Yeah. Well, I've been writing way prior to my first song. I wrote it was I was 14 years old, you know, and I still remember it. But anyway, I would say, it's kind of it's not a hard question. It's an issue question. I'm very open minded when it comes. Well, to begin with, Platinum was not. I didn't write any of that material. That was all them. I was just playing guitar. But when I'm writing, when I bring things to the table, a song to the table, and I have a band, even with the people that are recording at higher gun, I always ask them, "What do you think? You think you can add something else?" So what I always tell them is like, if what you have is going to make it happen, it's going to make it sound twice as better. Let's do that. You know what I mean? I think everybody has an ego, but I think the ego that I have, I use it on stage and I put it in my music, not throwing it around to people with attitudes and stupidity. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I believe I'm easy to work with. If you have something good, look, if you have a song, right? If you come in and we start working together, you have a song that's going to take us all the way to the top where we'll have to do nothing but music for the rest of our days and everybody happy. Bring it in, we'll play it, we'll record it, and we'll do it. But it's
Yeah.
songwriting. Songwriting is a different talent as playing. As you know.
True. It's two different things. It's
Yeah.
night and day. You have you'll see these great guitar players out there, just beyond amazing. Yet they can't write songs. They could play anything you put in front of them. They could play anything you write or record, but they don't have the ability to write music. It's not an easy thing. It's something like for you. Obviously, it comes naturally because you've been writing since you're 14 years old. But you have other players that go out there and they just can't do it. So they have to rely on other people to write songs for them or the band members. And how important is it? Like, I mean, I would think it would be very important to learn how to write music because when you can write music, you kind of can control your destiny of where you want to go with it.
Writing meaning as manuscript music, like reading and writing music.
Yeah,
I would know, I would know because I don't. I was in the school for gifted and talents, but I was like, I would look. Cello was my first instrument, and I would look at what the teacher was telling me when she put her hands on the cello, and then look at the manuscript and look at her and listen to it. So then I would play it and make believe that I was reading it, but I wasn't. I was just playing by ear what she played before, you know, and she loved it. So reading and writing, look, it can only help, but I don't read or write. I'm completely self-taught in guitar and songwriting and all that. That's what sometimes you have like this courses for like learn how to write a song and how to write hits and this and the other thing, right? And you see them online all the time. And the first thing that comes to mind is like, who is going to give you this lesson and how many hits do they have on the radio? you know,
true.
and like
Yeah,
how many hits do they have? How many songs can I listen that they have written that they're good? You know, but no, it has been. I think the main thing that I learned to separate is the an artist and a musician are two different things. A musician,
yeah,
it could be someone that learned how to play an instrument and be a wizard at it, right? But an artist that expresses himself through an instrument is a whole different ballgame. It's a whole that's where you get all this, Van Halen, Hendrix, and like for example, David Coverdale on Whitesnake. Um, Deep Purple had a lot of singers, right? None of them had a more successful career than David Coverdale after Deep Purple. And the reason why, because David Coverdale is an artist that's a musician that expresses himself through music, you know, and that's in a very humble way. That's where I like to lead, lay myself to it, ask myself to, so that I'm an artist that expresses himself through music, you know. I'm just trying to be as clear as
yeah,
possible, not to be misunderstood. But nothing wrong with just playing, you know. But I was listening to Spotify that I just started listening to not too long ago because my new song is doing pretty well in it. So I was listening to it, and of course, since I'm a guitar player, all the guitar things come in. And I'm like, I cannot get any more bored out of this thing. It's like, you can't even tell one guy from the other one. Everything is like on the same scales, the same licks, the same thing, the same, one slower, one faster. I'm like, I mean, it's technically great, but it's so shallow, so empty, and I don't mean to sound like a jerk, but and I'm not judgmental. It just come up on my headphones, and I'm listening to this while
yeah.
I'm exercising, and I'm like, oh God, not again, you know. So that's what I love classical music, and I like my classic rock. That's basically what I listen to.
Yeah. Well, you've mixed a lot of everything together over your solo career. I mean, there's the blues in there, there's rock. There's a little bit of everything going on, and you got your new release out now. What's coming up in the future? Are you working on anything right now for future release?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, you might like to hear this one. I don't know if you listened to the latest single that I have out. It's called "Witch's Brew." I was signed to a
Yep.
management company out of Finland. So the management company was Golden. I forgot the name. Excuse. Uh, Golden Management Finland, and
Yeah.
they asked me to. They have a lot of they wanted me to record some. I sent them a lot of my new demos. I go, this is what I'm going to do live, and this is the other thing. So one of them, and I was singing on the demos. One of them didn't like my singing. The other one loved my singing. They liked, and so on and so on. It was a headache. However, they asked me like, what kind of band would you like to have to record this? I go, well, I have a musical vision right now, which includes a really I need a wild, crazy drummer. a rock and roll drummer slash heavy metal, and hard rock, I said. And I go, as a singer, I go, my favorite singer is Paul Rogers, David Coverdale, Ian Gillan, and Robert Plant. So I want something along the lines that kind of singer. And then they showed me a couple of drummers, and one of them was from Mountain. But it's a little bit older gentleman, and he's great. I like him, but I think it was missing certain energy that I liked and that I needed. So they showed me this guy named Russell Gilbert from Uriah Heep. They sent me a video, and I listened to it, and I go like, this guy's perfect for it. He was like a angry drummer. He had beautiful feels live. I saw him playing at the Wagner Festival in Germany live, and I go like, yeah, let's talk to him. And then we went through a few bass players, and then he was playing in a gig in London with a singer named Paul Menzies. He's with the band called Sweet. Remember Sweet? Bolton Blitz and all that. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the drummer, the singer is singing on Witch's Grip. He's Paul Menzies, his name. He's out of London, and he's he's like, I think about 20, 15 years with Sweet. Russell
He's
from
been with them a long time.
Yeah. And Russell with Uriah Heep as well. And then for bass, we had auditioned a couple of guys who tried, and then I go like, something. I think the best bass player to have in this will be Tony Franklin from Blue Matter and the Firm. I think he can bring a lot to the table. So then we spoke to him and we got him on board. And then what about a keyboard? I was talking to a singer on the phone. He goes, "Are you going to add up a keyboard player?" I go, "Yes," and I know exactly who. So I called up a friend of mine named Paul Morris. He was with Rainbow for a long time. He toured with Invade and all that. So he's on the keyboard. And that's how the new project came all about, So now I have a few songs for him. I got about 5 songs, including Witch's Brew. And actually the new one that's going to be released fairly soon, I'll announce the date pretty soon. It's being mixed right now as we speak. The engineers are mixing it in the studio. So it's called So Is Harry, Man. And it's my favorite song right now from the record.
I'm gonna play Witch's Brew after we're done talking in a little bit. When
Cool.
you're writing now, do you specifically write for the members of the band you have playing with you, the guys you go to record with? Like you know the singer, you know who the singer's gonna be, you know what he sounds like. So you write for his style, or do you just look for somebody that can sing, what you're writing?
No, it's basically everything starts with a vision in my head, just like all the other stuff. It's like I write, and then I try to find somebody. I have some sounds in mind, or I already have the singing. I have the drums in my mind. I have the bass. I have everything in my head already. So then, what I do, I look for people that they can play like that, or they do that naturally, not something forced. I try not to force it, because every time I remember like back in the '80s, you see these bands, some great players, but like a jazz player playing metal, it's like didn't quite cut it. You know what I mean? It's like then I'm a great player, but then and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think so. I think it's very important to have your vision first. What do you want to hear? And that could be somewhat of a suggestion or advice for younger generations of musicians. You have to hear it in your head, and then you have to find what you hear. Actually, my son years ago asked me. He goes, "Dad, how do this band like Zeppelin, Queen, how do they do that? How do they get to that sound and to that such of a great, band?" I go, "Well, everything starts with a vision. I'm sure Robert Plant said, I want to sing it like this, a drummer like that, and a bass player this way and that way." And that's what he got. And bingo, you know what I mean? And that's how you create a sound. That's how you create a vibe. I do not like. How can I say it in a humble way? If I get hired by someone and they need me to adapt to what they do to make it sound like what they do without changing their musical bit, I'm able to do that. I'm lucky enough to be able to do that, because a lot of people can't. You're either like all metal or all whatever style they play. But I can turn it around. But when it comes to my music, I do what I do, and that's what you're hearing now. That's what you're hearing with Witch's Brew, and that's me now today. I don't adapt to songs, making it short for radios, making it this way for the radio. If a record company, I said this before to another interview I had, if a record company comes in and then they want me to change things because of the rating, this and that, I'm going to have a very simple slogan. I saw it in the movie. It's like, show me the money. you know, like, if it's not, I'll
Absolutely.
still do what I do.
That's it. Well, that's why we have studio musicians. Like I look at those guys, and you think about the Wrecking Crew and the guys that came around in the '50s, the '60s, into the '70s when they were like hired guns all the time. They have to learn to play everything, every style of music, every genre. They have to play it like they live for it and they love it. And they always gave those guys credit because of, whether it was country or rock and roll or dance or disco, no matter what it was, they had to jump in and play that. But when you're like a genre musician, it's hard to kind of see yourself doing that.
Yeah, I say it all the time. Actually, I say it here. I live in New Orleans now, and as much as I can throw a rock, and I find freaking five drummers or 10, throw another rock,
Yeah.
a whole bunch of bass players, but I cannot find people that will fit my musical vision. You know, I've been here for
Yeah.
a few years already, and it's practically impossible. So there is, as you said before, there's a place, a time and a place, for music, where music comes from, where it generates from, where's the birth of it. And I'm proud of being of
Yeah.
that Jersey scene where all that came out, and it was great, man. I still love it until today, and in a way, I kind of miss it. But we have to grow, and growing is sometimes painful. You have to leave things you love behind, or they just go, they go away from you, and then you can't live in the past, of course. But yeah, that
That's
was a
very
great time,
true.
and Vikron was nice. And you played bass as well, right?
I played bass for a long time back in the day.
Yeah.
But we're bass players. We're a dime a dozen.
Yeah. Well, not really, man. That bass player is one of the hardest things you'll find everywhere. you know. But
Yeah, we never get the respect we deserve, but yeah, I'm used to that.
yeah, well, you guys never get the hot chicks. That's for sure. I'm kidding.
That's the God's honest truth. That goes to the singers and the drummers.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Hey, but Vic, I gotta let you go in a couple of minutes because I have another guest
You
waiting in
got
the
it.
wings, and I want to play some of your music. But
Absolutely.
going back to the Vikron quick before I let you go, do you ever think about re-releasing all those old songs that never saw the light of day? Maybe putting them out on a record?
I have thought about it. Yeah, and it might
Keep thinking,
happen.
because I would love that.
I have to talk to the guys and see. As I said, I'm really occupied with what I'm doing right now, and it's getting great results even in 2025, which is pretty cool. Because rock and roll it's like a cycling, recycling things on and on.
True.
But yes, I am. I'm willing to do so. I have to, talk to the guys and see what happens. I know we spoke about a couple of years, and it turned out into nothing because of I don't know, because we'll get busy doing our thing. But yes, I have thought
I
about it,
hear you.
and
Well, I hope that happens one day. Vic, I can't thank you enough for being on tonight's show. I had a great time talking to you. I'm going to play Witch's Brew, King of the City, and maybe I'll get on another song if I can before the end of the show. But the best of luck with everything, and I hope you can make that Vikron stuff happen. And I can't wait for the new single to come out after this one, so I'm looking forward to it. But thank you for being on here tonight, Vic.
awesome. Well, thank you for having me, man. Keep rock and roll alive.
All right, it was my pleasure. Take care, my friend. Bye-bye.
Take care. You too. Thanks. Bye.
All right, how about we do Vikron, King of the City, and then we will play something off his solo record. Here you go.
Well, I sleep in the day, proud in the night. I know all the ladies when they treat me right. What I want, I take, and the rest is mine. Nothing comes easy, but it comes in time. 'Cause I'm the king of standing in my path. Feel the strength in my fist, meet my wrath. Wow! King of the city. My game just started with the lions roaring. I'm the king of the city. Daylight comes. Oh, look out!
All right, the latest single from Vick LeCar with Witch's Brew. We'll have a new one coming out soon. I'm looking forward to that. All right, we got to get to our next guest in about 10 minutes or so. We'll do one or two more tunes. Did you hear about this White Snake experience featuring ex-members of White Snake? I mean, I guess that's a new way of putting out a tribute band. They're saying it's only a one-off show, but you know it's not going to be. They're going to do many more. I think Tommy Aldridge is involved, Marco Mendoza, all guys that played with Whitesnake at one point or another in the 80s. No original members of the band. You know, David Coverdale's not involved in it. They're going to go out there and do Whitesnake. So, I mean, you know, this is what we've come down to. This is what the world is that we live in today. But I blame you, the fans. I blame you for going out to these shows and supporting these artists doing it. No reason for it. Don't do it. Support the original acts. Before I understand that every band can have all the original members in it, but find the band with at least one or two that are connected to the originality of the band. Not like these things like this. It just irritates me to no end. Speaking of shows, I know our friend Christian played this Friday night with Attacker and a few other bands. I hope he had a great show. I didn't get a chance to talk to anybody in the chat room because we had that interview going on. So, Christian, I hope it was a good night Friday with Attacker in New Jersey. The night before, I went to my first concert of the year. It was another one of my bucket list shows. I went to go see Tony Orlando. You know, you got to remember something. Even though I'm a metalhead, I grew up in the 60s and 70s where the only music you could hear was what your parents played on the radio. And my father loved doo-wop. He sang in a doo-wop band, my father, when he was in the late 50s, early 60s. So I heard that all the time. My mother loved Louis Prima and Tony Orlando, so I listened to that on the radio all the time. There were no MP3s. You were lucky if you got a record back then as a kid, and that's all you heard was the radio. So I loved all of these artists growing up because that's what I listened to. And then when I started working, you know, I worked with my partners at my job, like in the 50s back then. They grew up in that decade, so all the radio in the trucks always played the oldies channel, which in New York was CBS FM 101.1. So we try to scratch all these artists off the list, my wife and I, that we want to get to them before they pass away. We were lucky to catch quite a few. I missed my girl, Olivia Newton-John. I was supposed to go see one of her last shows 10 years ago here in the New Jersey area. And they offered me overtime that night, so I said, you know what, we'll catch you the next time. I went to work my overtime. She got sick a year or two later before she could start another tour, and then she passed away. So I missed Olivia Newton-John. That was the girl I was going to marry and have all my kids with. I don't think anybody grew up in the 70s didn't have a crush on Olivia Newton-John, but I wanted to see Tony Orlando 2 years ago when he had his final show in New Jersey. He played like 3 hours. I can't even talk to you in here for 3 hours. That's for playing music. But at 80 years old, he was playing. So he came out of retirement for one show for Cousin Bruce. He was a well-known DJ here in New York area. He's 90 years old and he's still DJing. So God bless him. But we got to see Tony Orlando. It was for the veterans. The whole show was for the veterans. And Andy Kim, who sang Sugar Sugar in the 70s and Rock Me Gently, opened up. And he was pretty depressing, I got to say. He was a little morbid, talking about dying and death all the time, that he was in the twilight of his years. But you know what? It was a free show. My wife and I got in. We got to see it, and I was thrilled. So that's another group I could cross off my bucket list. Smokey Robinson was the next one. But hey, you know what? Last month going to Florida, we were with Smokey Robinson in the airport waiting online to get through security. So I got to meet Smokey Robinson. So I may not have seen him perform live, but he was right there. So I guess that's good enough. All right, let's get on a couple of songs before we get to our next interview. Christian wanted to hit Cutthroat. It's been a long time since I heard about these guys, so here's Warzone for Christian.
Fight for your life. This is a war
Okay, Dark Angel, when they were good, Hell's on its knees. They released another new single. Musically, it sounds better than the first one, in my opinion. It still doesn't sound like Dark Angel. I don't know if we're going to get anything from them on this record that sounds like classic Dark Angel. They moved on in a different direction. I just don't understand what's going on with Ron Reinhardt's vocals. I mean, it sounded like a death metal singer with the growling and everything. He never sounded like that before on the Dark Angel records. To me, they should have did this reunion when Jim was alive and gotten Don Dottie back into the band and made that happen. That's what I would have loved to have seen. I really wasn't a fan of the Ron records. You know, I'm a Don Dottie guy, so as it be, that's what it is. All right, let's get on to our interview with Brian Sheerin from Stretcher. We'll talk to Brian. We'll wrap it up maybe a little later tonight, it looks like, but we'll get one or two more tones on after that, so stick around. Brian, this is Mike. Can you hear me?
I can, Mike. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
Doing well.
It's good to have you on here. I'm a big fan of Mo, and I'm so happy that you wound up hooking up with the Stretcher guys, some old friends of yours, and putting out some new music. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well. It's just a fluke thing that has been pretty cool.
Oh, that's great. I mean, the band was inactive for like 20-something years, I believe. I mean, it's been a long time, so you kind of forget. But how did it all come about that you guys hooked up together and decided to redo the band?
Well, Mower and Stretcher were both from San Diego. We were pretty much kings of the roost as far as hard rock and metal in the late 90s and 2000s. So we did tons of shows together and threw all sorts of events and you know, packed a lot of clubs here in San Diego. So we became pretty fast friends back in the day. And then they put out a couple records. Mower put out a few records, and they stopped a few years before Mower stopped. And the two guys that started the band, the drummer Tom Stewart and the the bass player Joe McGowan, they always felt like they had more music in them. So when the pandemic hit, they started writing stuff, and I was on the East Coast at that point. I had moved during the pandemic. But I was coming back for vacation and hit up a few musicians to see if anyone wanted to jump in the studio and just do a track for fun. You know, like I wasn't really looking to do a band or anything. And these guys hit me up and said, yeah, we've got like almost a whole record written with no vocals. So they sent me some music, and I started writing to it, lyrics, melodies, and harmonies and that type of thing, and did a little arranging. And came out for that vacation, shot up to their house for a day, jammed with the band. Thought it went really, really well. And then they said, hey, man, we like what you did. Want to fly you back out next month. So came out again and wrote some more, jammed some more. And then decided we were going to go up and record stuff professionally, and went to L.A. and started working with Eddie Wall. And I want to move out here to get the project done. So that's kind of where we're at now. It's been released about a month, and our good friend Muncie from Skateboard Marketing is out there telling people about it. And we're getting some love, and just trying to put it as far out as it'll go, and see if anyone wants tours and more music and that type of thing. So.
Oh, that's always a good thing. I mean, you definitely, this isn't just like a one-off project or something for the studio. You are making it look this a full-time band, a full-time thing, and go out and tour and play.
Well, I mean, these guys they've got businesses, they've got kids, families, houses, that type of stuff. I'm probably the most flexible out of the bunch as far as touring and that type of thing, but they have enough flexibility to where they can get away. And, you know, if the thing catches fire, we can make some decisions then, but, you know, that's down the road.
Yeah, those damn kids are always getting in the way, no matter how old you get.
Well, these kids most of them are getting older, so
I know.
You know,
I get
we'll
that.
see how it goes. But we could certainly do some good 2 and 3 week tours if we schedule things right. And like I say, you know, if it catches fire, we can make some decisions then. But for right now, it's been a lot of fun. We feel like we made some good music. We got a good team putting it together. We worked with Eddie Razor from Piston Razors on some drum tracks. We worked with Eric Emery, who did a bunch of periphery stuff on some other drum tracks. So between them and Eddie Wall and getting it mastered by Mauer Applebaum, we have a solid team, and we put out, you know, decent EP there.
Yeah. I mean, you know, for people that don't know, I mean, Stretch, like I said, go back to the early 90s, and they've had a couple of records out, some EPs, some singles. This album, Information Overdose, is a much different sounding Stretcher than the original one was. And, you know, there's a difference between you and Mario on vocals.
They wanted to keep the name. I mean, I didn't really care one way or the other. It wasn't the hill I was going to die on. They named the band. They were in a band together called Belligerent in San Diego.
Yeah.
This is Joe and Tom, the rhythm section. And they had so many fights at belligerent shows that they had to change the name. So they changed the name to Stretcher back in the day. And these guys loved the name. They wanted to put out another Stretcher record. And I mean, I had performed with them on a track here and there on stage when we would do shows together. We were all friends, and I kind of was there during the OG steps of Stretcher. So I didn't have any problem with it. I respect the original lineup and the original music, and anything that we play from the early records, I do my best to kind of emulate that sound. And Mario Israel, who was the original singer for Stretcher, he's a friend of mine, so trying to do him justice whenever we play the older stuff. And then the newer stuff is, to their credit, to just kind of let me do what came naturally for the songs. I mean, we kind of have a bunch of different styles fusing together here, and we're really not worrying too much about trying to have a definitive sound yet. That'll come. We're just kind of getting all the ideas out, and what typically happens, or at least in my experience, you kind of land on a groove, and that becomes your sound. So we're heading towards that point.
Do you think bands put too much focus on what they're going to sound like too early on in their career? And then, listen, there's a time and place for everything. Genres come and go. Metal was humongous in the 80s. Then new metal came about, alternative, and everything's always changing. That's just a given in life, and music is going to change with it. So do you think it's better for a band to take its time defining its sound, because you never know where you're going to go with that band or what direction you want to take it in, and you don't want to be irrelevant and you don't want to be too relevant either at the same time?
I think you have to follow what everybody feels in the band, and just throw things out honestly. If you're trying to sound like someone, you're probably going to fail anyway. I mean, the great thing for me, I definitely borrow inflections and stuff from some great singers, but I don't have a voice like Robert Plant or Chris Cornell, or even like a Phil Anselmo, or any of the people that I liked and respected growing up. I don't sound like those people, so I may try and take a vibe out of it, but it's going to sound like me at the end of the day anyway, for better or worse. So there's really no fighting that.
That's true. And the first single, "Blinding Lights," was a cover tune. I mean, what was the pick behind putting that out there? Do you think because it was already an established song?
I mean, that was kind of a calculated move. That thing's got like 5 billion streams, and it's a very popular song, well-written song, and we wanted to try and you get a little guilt by association where people are looking for the original and stumble upon these covers. And I think it was kind of a numbers game. That's an incredibly popular song. And I think our twist on it is a little different. It's been covered many, many times by a lot of different bands, but I feel like we kind of went off on a different path. A lot of the bands have kind of tried to stay true to the original style, and we thought it'd be better to kind of slow it down a little bit and give it a little bit of a creep. So I think we accomplished that. And the video came out great. We got a video shot by director Tyler Jordan. He did an excellent job on a performance clip for it. So we're happy with it.
It's definitely a cool video. And I always say that if you could do a cover song of a band and kind of make it your own, where people listen to it and say, it sounds for me, but I don't know where that's from, I think you've accomplished that. And that's not an easy thing to do either, to take someone else's song and turn it into your own.
Yeah, that was definitely the thought. We had a few songs that we were considering, that being one of them. The other guys wanted to do a Pink Floyd song, and but it was kind of coming out more like a punk version. And for me personally, I didn't think it was going to be the song that's going to kind of rope people in and show them what we can do. I mean, the other 5 songs on the EP are similar, but they're heavier than the Blinding Lights song, and that's fine. I mean, I think that was kind of a gateway song to try and perk up some ears, and then they can kind of go, oh, these guys are kind of cool, and then check out the original stuff. So hopefully that happens.
Well, I mean, between Stretcher having a name recognition on their own for the last 30-something years, and you and Moa, I mean, both of you guys come into this with, well-known bands in the scene. So does that help out any, or do you still feel like it's a new thing and you're starting from scratch all over again?
I mean, we're starting from scratch. It would have helped out in 2015, but at this point, sure, there's a fan base for Mower, there's a fan base for Stretcher. In California and San Diego, we do really well, but there's no rabid nationwide thing going on for either of us any longer. So we're starting from scratch.
Yeah. I mean, is it easier today? I mean, when you think about when both bands kind of came about, I mean, social media was in the infancy stages. People really weren't using it yet, or it wasn't being used the right way. Now you have all this networking that goes on. Is it easier for a band, even an established band or a band just starting over again, to use the internet to really further its cause, or does it still go back to the old way of just going out there and playing live and getting people to hear your music?
Well, I think the issue with the internet these days is everything's throttled. So unless you're paying to promote your stuff on Facebook or Instagram, there's a limit to how much you can organically reach. And we're not 16-year-old kids that have TikTok wired and have figured out how to go viral or want to do necessarily the kind of stupid crap that people are doing to go viral. I mean, some of our videos are goofy, but that's about where we draw the line. It's like we're not going to try and do heavily produced videos just trying to go viral. At the end of the day, we're a band. We're not actors or comedians or anything. So it is what it is. If you like the music, cool. So
Yeah.
there's pluses and minuses. But I think as an example, when I was in Mower and we were putting stuff on Facebook, like if you had 5,000 fans, you hit 5,000 fans with a post. And now you're not getting that kind of reach unless you're paying for it.
It's true. It's a shame because it started out as such a great idea and such a great tool to use, and like everything else, it's only to monopolize people later on in their money. It seems like when you say I
Yeah.
was blind to light the great people in, the internet was the same way too. So really, it should be just. I mean, in the end, it's really word of mouth that's going to get the name of the band around it. People know you guys,
Always.
and they're gonna
Always.
they're gonna try it out. And I think the album's doing really well. I mean, it's charting well. And when you think about information overdose, I mean, you could have picked a more relevant title for an album than what's been going on over the last couple of years, and the cover kind of shows that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're getting blasted on all sides by content and music and media and film and political information. It's a lot to process, and there's only so much you can take in, and there's only so much worthwhile information you can take in. A lot of it is just garbage. So that's kind of the hope is to say, hey man, maybe you should go for a walk. You should go out and surf, and maybe not get off your TikTok and stop doom scrolling.
Yep,
I mean,
you know,
I'm not the author of that idea, but I'm definitely a proponent of
yeah.
getting out and making a real connection with real people nowadays.
I agree. I come from a generation where we bought records when they came out, and we sat in a room and listened to them. And I'm in my
Yeah,
my
same.
fifties and
You
stuff.
can kill a
So
whole afternoon with two or
yeah,
three buddies listening to the new AC/DC record.
and I'm like, we don't need all this crap, this social media. I mean, well, 2 minutes later, I'm on my phone anyway doing something on there to begin with.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm
got to
just
tell
as
you,
guilty.
I fired social media back up to help promote this band, and it is a curse, man. I hate it. Not for me. I had about 7 years after Mower where I went dark on social media, and less good without all the junk in it.
Yeah, you talk about Mo, and then we talked about Stretcher, like with this album being different than the earlier stuff. I mean, you guys really went like towards the end. You guys went on so many different tangents musically that you really experimented a lot, and I thought that was great because I got a little bit of everything from the band that I liked.
Yeah, I mean, we're all coming up with similar influences, and we're still, we're listening to what's happening now. I'm into a lot of the music that I'm hearing lately, and I think that's good. A lot of people kind of get a little older and just like get off my lawn when it comes to music. They want to hear, Zeppelin's fucking 1 through 3, and the first 3 Metallica records, and you gotta kind of listen to everything, I think.
You do have to have a wide variety of tastes, otherwise you kind of get locked in. Listen, I know the genre of music that I like. I'll play it more than any other genre, but I like listening to everything that comes around because you never know what you're going to
I
find.
try.
That's when you get that one gem, that one hidden gem. Like, holy cow, how did I miss this? And the band's been around for like 20 years. You have to do that.
Yeah.
You have to play
Oh, it's
everything.
sweet. I've had whole bands I discovered in another genre. Like, you'll hear it in passing, but you never put the energy into checking it out. A bad example, like I don't know, like a Radiohead. Like a Radiohead was all over the place forever, and I heard there's this amazing jam band, and I still haven't explored Radiohead, but that would be, they may have this whole bastion of music and styles that I would really appreciate if I took the time to get into it. Sometimes you don't get into bands for 10, 20 years. When I was a kid, a lot of the bands that I grew up loving were dead. Jim Morrison died a year before I was born, and I was
Yeah.
a massive Doors fan. So you can go backwards when you've got the time and the energy to do it.
That's true. I mean, you're like, when I was a kid, I went to go buy a record, and a record was maybe $5 or $6 back then. But when you're making $1.50 a week delivering the newspaper, you had to work a lot of weeks to get
Yeah,
that one record, and
yeah,
you
yeah,
learned to
for
you learned to
sure.
like that record, whether it's good or bad. You just learned to like it because you spent your money on it.
Now,
And
sometimes they get you, man. You remember Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo by Rick Derringer?
yeah,
I thought that song was great, so I went out and bought All American Boy, and there wasn't another good track on that thing, in my personal opinion. He got me from my 7.99. Damn you,
yeah,
Rick Derringer.
that's what happens. But it's not gonna that's not gonna happen with Stretcher with this new record because you did do a great job on the songs that you put on there. And I mean, you guys did play live, didn't you? Get play live already?
Yeah, we've done shows in San Diego and Mexico. I literally just got off the phone with a booking agent. We're trying to get our fall. I think fall is going to be kind of the touring window for us after summer here. And our tour is going to be different than a band that is 19-year-olds that aren't doing any other jobs and are on a label and are getting support and want to do 3-4 months. I mean, I think we're probably going to be more 2-week, 3-week stretches. But we'll see. If there's a demand for it, you can make decisions. Um,
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes. The live shows are pretty intense. I mean, Mower was a very intense band, and I've definitely carried that element over into Stretcher. So, you're going to get a show. Definitely going to be something to look at for the time you're there and listen to.
Absolutely. 2 to 3 weeks seems to be the norm today. You don't have very many bands outside of maybe the arena bands that are going out for months at a time. It's not feasible, I don't think, anymore financially.
Well, you have to be smart about it.
Yeah.
There's certain rivers of income on tour, and some of them have dried up. So you need to bolster the others. I mean, you can't download a T-shirt yet. It's pretty damn close these days. I mean, you can you can go direct to Garment and basically download a T-shirt, but for the most part, physical goods you can still sell. But the clubs want a piece of that too now. You can't even make you $1,000 because you got to kick up 25% of the clubs. It's the waters are muddy, but I was saying on an earlier interview that you can complain all you want, but there's still plenty of people making money and making livings and making careers doing music. So they figure it out. You can stop crying and figure it out for yourself. So
Yeah, you got to be smart about it. That's the whole thing. I mean, you can go out there and play for free all you want and just take money out of your pocket. You go out there and break even. You go out there and try to make a little profit. I mean, it's the music business. As much as you love creating and being the creative person in the band, you still have to think about the financial aspect of it.
yeah, you shouldn't be paying to play music.
No, well, I remember I
I
started
mean,
with the band selling tickets.
this 6-song EP was not free. The producer's time costs money. Everything costs money. Putting it out costs money. It's any of the advertising costs money. And we're independent, and to our credit, at least as far as college and specialty radio, which is where we kind of put our energy, because we're not going to have the money to break into commercial radio per se. But we've done pretty well on the college charts, and there aren't a lot of independent bands on there that are hanging tough. So I can't complain. It's a nice little start, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Sure. I always feel like rock and metal fans, they're always going to buy, they're always going to support. I mean, the younger generation likes everything for free, and I know that mentality. That's what they think, and that's how they behave. But you know what? I get the records for free from the labels because I'm promoting it on the radio. But I still go out and
Right,
buy
right.
I buy the same record the day it comes out. I don't just take the free copy. I still buy because I want that physical copy in my collection somewhere. A lot of things are digital today, but that's the way I am. That's
Well,
how I came up.
you're in the minority, but it's very cool of you, man. When I hear music I like, I buy the music. As an example, I was at a show here. Two of my friends' bands actually. It was in San Diego, and we're talking about how you can miss something. These bands have been around for a couple of years, and I never really heard of them. Even with friends of mine, just kind of get into different things. I went to go see them both play. It was Desponders with a guy named Kevin Stram. He used to play bass in another band I was in, and another band called Miniaturized. And I wound up loving both sets. I was buying the albums during the set. Like while they're singing their songs, I'm on iTunes buying the album. So
Wow.
in that way, you're supporting your friends, and you're also getting a copy for yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, going back to the 90s, I mean, when we were all there, we were all a lot younger and we were kids and we would listen to the music, take it in. Do you think the kids today that you try to appeal to have such a short attention span that it makes it harder as a musician to kind of grab them and bring them into the fold?
I don't know, man. I mean, you listen to music the same way I listen to it. You know, you hear something, and if it speaks to you, that's the thing that you. If it says something that you can connect with, and it sounds cool, and it's recorded well, like that's the stuff you're going to gravitate towards. And there's, I mean, even bands that are highly successful, they don't know what's going to hit per se. It's very rare that you write a Hey Ya by Outkast, and you know the minute you press record that you got a hit on your hands. You know, a lot of bands put stuff out, and you know it works against you too. I can tell you some of the more popular Mower songs were not my favorite songs to play.
Is that difficult to go up on stage and perform songs that you're not crazy about? I mean, you have to because the fans like it, and you're really there for the fans to play for them. But I mean, how do you fake that? How do you try to get through that?
Well, look, you put it out, you wrote it, so if they gravitate towards it, and that's the one they want to hear, you know, that's. We never got to like a Warrant Cherry Pie situation where we were cringing, but there were certain songs that we would prefer to play, you know.
Warrant always hated that song. At least Jamie did, but it made them big and famous for that short amount of time before the entire scene kind of collapsed upon itself when they were out the door.
Well, and it's rough if you cave into a label to put something like that together, kind of against your will, or if they release it and they pump something that is supposed to be, a deep cut. I'm sure that happens. But, at this stage of the game, man, I've been in this for 30 years. It's like, it's fun. I'm enjoying it. It's a creative outlet. I think the songs are honest, and I'm trying to write decent lyrics that you can kind of wrap your own interpretation around. And it is what it is. If people like it, then cool. I'm down to do it. I still have plenty of energy. I still jump around like a maniac. And, until you can't do that or do it well, game's on.
Yeah. Is it better today to continue to be do-it-yourself and independent than to look for... I mean, the labels don't have the kind of pull like they did, 30, 40 years ago, like Atlantic and EMI and those big labels. Because even back then, they were signing every band. When Metallica broke and became big, they wanted every heavy metal band that they can get their hands on. Then when they got them, they tried to change them from what they were into what they wanted them to be. And some bands kind of did that because they didn't know any better and they lost the whole fan base. Other bands stood strong and didn't, and they just got dropped by the label, but they're still relevant and they still went on today. So, good or bad being on a label?
It depends on the label. It depends on the relationship you have with them. I mean, we kind of have released this to some degree. It's out there in a void. I mean, my Spotify, I think it peaked at like 100 listeners and it's down into the dozens now. So it's not like we're blowing up, but we haven't really hit the road touring yet. And it's just been a couple press releases and that type of thing. So, if you had a label, the pitch would be that they'd be able to get you listeners and they'd be able to do that stuff. But the way to do it is to go out and play for people. I mean, that's the way you're going to make fans, unless you just have tons and tons of money to go at commercial radio, to go at movies, things, and if you get your song in Iron Man, you're gonna get some eyes on you, and that's something that you can do to some degree independently. But I'm not plugged into that network anymore. I knew a lot more people in the industry when I was more active in it, and a lot of those people they're no longer doing it. For the same issues that musicians had with this glut of basically piracy, song piracy, the radio stations are having the same issues, and a lot of these people are not in that industry anymore because they can support it.
That's true. This is a tough business no matter how you look at it. I mean, but as far as Moa goes, is it a done deal?
Yeah, Mower's done. It's been done for a while. We had a really good send off. We did a sold out House of Blues show in 2013, and we flew out to Colorado and did some shows out there. And then I think our last show was a big parking lot show with POD here in town that was like 7,000 or 8,000 people. We had a big mobile stage and opened a Harley Davidson dealership and just packed the whole place. And that was a pretty good send off for Mower. Everybody. The core group, myself, Dominic Moscatello, and Chris McCready. Dominic is active with a cover band. He plays with Tony from Papa Roach and Pat from Unwritten Law, and they do like rock covers and punk covers and stuff like that when they've got time. Dominic is just about through with law school, so he's got that career burgeoning for him. And then Chris is out DJing. He is doing like club DJ type stuff under the name The Schneeks. So still active in music to one degree or the other, but I don't think Mower's ever going to see the light of day, and probably shouldn't at this stage of the game.
Is it hard to let it go when you put all that time and effort into it? Or you say, you know what, we did what we set out to do, we accomplished our goals, and we're done?
Yeah, I think we would have. I think we would have done some things differently. As far as like who we connected with, we didn't really connect with a hard rock and metal ecosystem. We kind of signed a deal with a label that was more hip hop and more kind of, I don't know, maybe more punk hip hop type stuff, and we didn't really fit that mold. And then the other thing is, we didn't write those hit songs. At the end of the day, if we wrote something that was so stellar, you'd know it. So you just have to write better songs. A really good song will find its way to the top somehow,
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm glad you gave us everything you gave us, and I'm not going to keep you, but we're stretching. Any plans for the summer? Just promoting right now, working on that fall
I think
tour.
Just a little more promotion. We're trying to figure out if we want to do another video, if we want to put that energy into recording. Summer's here. We've got some obligations personally and stuff like that. So we're going to talk with this booking agent and try and set things up for fall. And then we've got a bunch of good songs that we didn't record on the first batch. I mean, some of my favorite songs from this lineup are still kind of coming down the pipe. So I'm excited about that. If people talk about this first one and then we put out something that's equally strong, we'll see what happens. Get out there and play for people and make friends and see what happens.
Well, Brian, you did a great job on this record. I know it's going to go over well,
it.
and I can't wait to see you guys. Hopefully, you can make it here to the East Coast. I know you were here for a while,
Yeah,
so
I would
just
love
come
that.
back and bring the other guys with you.
That's where all my friends and family are from, so I love getting to the East.
When you get back here, we'll see you. I can't wait for it.
Mike, I appreciate it. Thanks for the support, Mike. We love it, man.
You got it, Brian. Take care, my friend. Bye-bye.
All right, take care, brother.
The only billions the barons need to account of the general population taking to ground. Children yet to be born, filled with the family scorn, hacking into the drones for an army all their own. True to lies. True to lies. The next time one of these actors takes the stage,
right, brand new stretcher, Kill the Power. I want to thank Brian and Vic for being on tonight's show. Next Sunday night, we have Tom Lorenzo from Bastard Skull. You might remember Tom. He played with Blood Feast for a long time and Without End. We might have Bobby Wright from Broker's Helm on next week. He told me to get back to him on Tuesday so I can see what his schedule is like. But if not, we will get him on sometime in June, I'd imagine. So until then, take care, everybody. Have a great week. I'll see you next Sunday night. Let's wrap it up with some Americade on the prowl. Good night, everyone.
Take this on, we're going to attack now. We'll make sure that you